Tempest View has been updated in Tempest 6.7 to include a number of new enhancements and features. This includes optimization of the memory usage, enhancements to the 2D plots and 3D viewer, upgrades to the pre- and post-processing functions, and improvements to the help documentation, all of which will be further described in this video. The memory usage in Tempest 6.7 has been optimized. The amount of memory Tempest View now uses when loading a model is significantly reduced, especially for load-on-demand files, as many models require less than a quarter memory when compared with Tempest 6.6. Complete data can be excluded from a load-on-demand load, so for big models with fine grids, this drops the memory usage to very low levels. Derived data, such as group totals and well ratios, are now calculated on demand, which speeds up load times and cuts memory needs. Summary calculator calculations are calculate on demand now, which can greatly speed up model loading. By depth load on demand file reading and writing is faster. And generating very large numbers of thumbnail graphs is also faster than before in Tempest 6.7. Updates to the 2D plotting tool in Tempest 6.7 include the ability to format plots with dashed lines. Plot lines can be changed to dashed lines by simply right-clicking on the legend in the 2D viewer and selecting the desired dotted line pattern. The time range in the results table can be restricted now so that only the period of interest is shown. With a plot and split view, we right-click on the time column and select Filter Date Range. We enter in our start and end times and click on OK to apply this to our table. This data filtering can help to limit the amount of data shown in the tables and also eases export to Excel. For by-depth plots, a plot sim option is now available from the Observe Data tabs for RFT, PLT, and Flow tabs. This will plot the simulated data closest in time to the observed data and make scanning through multiple wells with sparse observed data much quicker. Plots are now vertically and horizontally aligned when multiple graphs are displayed together, whereas previously, plots were misaligned when multiple axes were present on a graph or when the magnitude of the values on the y-axis did not match. Now, with the alignment of the plots, it is easier to pick out interesting features by eye. And finally, printing directly to PDF files is also supported now. This is especially useful for thumbnail plotting on Linux, as the PDF is sensibly paginated. Enhancements to the 3D viewer in Tempest 6.7 include grid transformations, where the grid can now be scaled, fattened, or exploded in the X, Y, or Z directions. This helps to easily show stacked reservoirs or better show thin layers. The color scale on the 3D viewer has also been improved in this release. An arbitrary number of intervals with different color ranges between them can now be set, and the scale will apply to all grid arrays with the same name in a project. The scales can even be named and copied between projects. Out-of-range colors can also be set, whereas previously, these were just displayed in gray by default. The ternary color map also now has a sharpen option, which better highlights areas where the saturation is changing. And finally, the well matrix has been updated to include a refresh button that can be used to refresh the matrix to match the displayed time step. Updates to the pre and post processing within Tempest 6.7 include the addition of a special icon that appears for any missing include file. We can also export reporting groups as a more group keyword and interactively add this group to the input deck. To do this, let's first create a group in Tempest View by selecting the wells we wish to include in this group in our Wells tab, and then right-clicking on one of the wells in our selection to create a group. We name this group Group A, and then click on OK to create it. This group will then appear in our Groups tab. And if we select it and right-click on it to bring up a context menu where we can select to export as more group, to export the group as a more group to include in other projects. We can also directly add this group to the input dataset by right-clicking in the Recurrent section and selecting Insert Reporting Group as More Group. The group we have just created in Tempest View will then appear in the list, and selecting this group will automatically include the group in the input dataset. Observed data files cannot be directly edited from the simulation tree. We simply select this file and right-click on it and select Edit from the resulting menu. The observed data will then appear in its own window for editing. Aggregated rates can be calculated and displayed now in 2D. These are calculated from the totals over the preceding time period and displayed as histograms. Monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, and yearly average rates can be shown. The display of these rates can be set in the Data Loading Parameters window, which can be accessed from the Options menu under Defaults and the Data Loading option. Here, we can choose which aggregated rates we want to load into our simulation. Let us add quarterly and half-yearly rates. And then we reload our results. And we see that these rates will be displayed in the summary list of the Wells tab, along with the monthly and yearly rates. This feature is very useful for interacting with other programs, such as economic evaluators and spreadsheets. Observed data from stacked reservoirs can also be read and displayed on the Layer tab now. For example, here for the well, or PRO, we can see data for 3 stacked reservoirs, and by selecting them all at once, we can plot the gas production rate history for these reservoirs all in one plot. Additionally, the cheer simulator is now explicitly supported as well. This will be evident when loading a simulation and looking for the cheers option in the simulation type menu. New command line arguments allow projects and cases to be automatically loaded when Tempest starts. For example, typing tempest-p waterflood.tprj will start Tempest with a project loaded. Or using tempest-c run1.2ti will start Tempest with a case loaded. Projects can also be saved now using absolute or relative file paths, and this can be done for multiple projects and cases at once. The help documentation in this release of Tempest has also been improved. The More User Guide has been given evolutionary rather than revolutionary improvements. In Tempest 6.7, the first phase of this enhancement is complete, and many keywords have been updated to include better explanations, more examples, more diagrams, and improved formatting. For example, here we can see the old documentation for the Modi keyword. And here we can see the improvements made to it in Tempest 6.7. There are added examples, relevant diagrams to demonstrate the effects of this keyword, and consistent formatting throughout. This is the beginning phase of the documentation improvements for Tempest, and with the release of Tempest 7.0 in the future, the entire More User Guide will be updated to be more user-friendly and helpful than ever before. The standard More examples that come with the installation of Tempest can now be automatically loaded straight from the Tempest Help documentation page. This saves you time from having to search through the Tempest installation folders to find them. Now, with a simple search for More examples in the Tempest Help, we see the standard More examples documentation where we get a description of the dataset and a link to load that dataset straight into Tempest. Here, let's choose the dual porosity run, click on the link, and see that this project automatically gets loaded into Tempest for your convenience. The PDF version of the help files can also be accessed directly from Tempest under the documentation item of the help menu. Selecting this will bring us to the documentation for Tempest page, where we can see the links for the different help documentation available for Tempest. For example, let's click on the Lift User Guide to load up its PDF file. The More technical reference can also be directly loaded from this page. Or alternatively, it can also be loaded directly from the Help menu, making it more accessible than before.